Welcome to my craft table. Hello, this is Jamie Magrich. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. And let's get started. I'll show you what we're going to need. Put it over here so you can actually see it. Okay, we're going to start with a card base. The thick white cardstock. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I've scored it and folded it at 4 1/4. I have a scrap of black, and it's at least 2.5 inches to accommodate the punch. It can be 2.5-inch square, that's fine, but at least 2.5 inches. I have a scrap of pear pizzazz. I have a scrap of real red. I have a piece of real red, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. A piece of white, which is 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to be using the Country Floral embossing folder and the Merry Christmas to All stamp set. We're going to be using the real red with this stamp. We're going to be using Memento with the sentiment. I have a bow that's not Stampin' Up, it's from my stash. I have the Dog Builder punch. A small flower punch that is Stampin' Up, but it's retired. And the Sprig Builder punch. Along with a pair of snips and one holiday rhinestone for the center of the flower. So let's get started. Let's put this out of the way. First thing I'm going to do is bring in the embossing folder or the die cutting machine, and I'm going to emboss this layer. I need one cutting plate and my platform, this, and I will be right back. Okay, and there's that layer. Okay, let's go ahead and punch some of our pieces. Now you could just punch out of this because we're going to hide it instead of using a scrap. But I have the scraps, so I might as well use it. I'm going to just punch 2 little flowers out of the red scrap. Let's just punch all of our pieces and then we'll assemble. Okay. Then we're going to bring in the dog punch. And we're going to punch the dog with the black. Okay. Then we're going to bring in the pear pizzazz and the sprig punch. This one I probably should have had a little bit larger piece but I was able to get it in there, so one of those. And that's all of our pieces. I did forget my bow, so let me put you on pause and I'll be right back. I need a little red bow. Okay, I'm back. I got my little red bow. I had a bunch tied. I just forgot to draw it out of the for this video. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and adhere the white piece to the red layer. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi-Glue for that. Okay. Go ahead and put that on there. And one other piece I forgot was a piece to stamp my sentiment on. Thought I had a complete kit here, but I forgot I had a couple pieces set aside. right. Oh, that's pretty dirty. Let's see if we can find another one. There we go, that'll work. Okay. So, we need to take our ribbon. We're going to put it in that, you know how I divide things into thirds? So there's 1, 2, 3. So on that line for that third quadrant, we're going to go ahead and put our ribbon on. And I've already tied the bow in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to bring in my snail. And I'm going to add some tape on the back. And then I'm going to adhere the ribbon to the tape. Just make sure it's straight on the front side. Okay, so there's that piece. Now this can get adhered to the front of our card. And you can use the snail. I'm going to go ahead and use my Tombow Mono multi-glue. The liquid glue. There's just going to be a tiniest little bit of a border. Alright, so there's that. Now for the flower, I'm just gonna, and I just kind of pinch those little ends, curl it a little bit with my finger and pinch those little ends. Just gives it a little bit of dimension. You can also take like a stylus or and roll it with the stylus. My nails look dirty, but they're not. They're just stained with ink. Okay, squinch them up a little bit. Add a little drop of the glue in the bottom and stack those on top of each other so that they're not right going the same direction. Okay, then I'm going to take one of these self-adhesive gems, put that right in the center. Okay, and that's that. We're going to cut this into 2 pieces. I'm actually going to cut these bottom 2 little flowers off, or leaves, excuse me, off. I'm going to add a little bit of glue onto that, and that's going to go on the back of our flower, like that. So there's just those 3 little leaves sticking out. Okay, now I'm going to adhere my bow. I'm going to bring in a glue dot for that, it's just easier. I'm going to put my bow onto my glue dot. See how some of it's exposed, and I'm going to roll it up behind that bow. That'll go on the dog's neck. And I'm going to bring in the Tombow, put a little bit of glue on the back of my flower, and adhere that as well. Let's turn that over. We're going to bring in our dimensionals. I think we have one solid one left. Oh, there's another one. Oh, good, we get there's one more there. Okay, and we'll turn him over. And he's going to sit right on top of our bow. Take those backings off. Awful glad my windows are closed. People driving by with really loud music. He's going to go so he's like sitting right on top of that bow. Okay, now let's stamp our sentiment. Done with that. We're going to bring in I found it easier to stamp the sentiment first. I'm using the Memento ink. Stamp the sentiment. Okay, then I'm going to bring in the real red and this fancy little border that goes around it. And I'm going to try to center that up. Pardon my head if I get my head in it. Framing that sentiment. Perfect. Okay. Now there's probably a die that cuts this out. I'm going to go ahead and use my snips. I'm going to just trim this out, leave a tiniest little bit of a border there. And I just did the ends and then I came back and did the corners. And I just did a little tiny curve on that corner. This is one of the cards that I did at Thanksgiving with my family. I'll put some dimensionals on the back, and since I just have the outside left, we'll just snip a piece of that. Make sure it's right side up. Set that down over on this side. There we go. There's our card. There's the one we just made together. Oh, focus. And here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you have some fun playing with stamps, ink, and paper.